Okay, when you hear the term flying snake, your mind probably jumps straight to, a majestic creature just soaring effortlessly through the jungle canopy. Sounds incredible, right? Well, today we're diving straight into this explainer to completely deconstruct that myth. We're going to break down the hard data, the weird evolutionary quirks, and the sheer daily struggle to show you why being born with this so-called gift is actually a chaotic, exhausting curse. It's really far less of a blessing and much, much more of a high-altitude survival nightmare. Let's get into it.
It really does sound like a superpower. I mean, you look like you can fly. You absolutely have the branding of an elite aerial predator. But the truth? The truth is a lot less glamorous. You see, you aren't genuinely flying like a bird or a bat with powered wings. Not even close. Instead, you're literally just launching yourself out of a tree at dizzying heights and desperately, desperately hoping gravity is having a good day. It's less flight and honestly a lot more like, well, falling with a lot of style and an intense amount of panic. You are entirely at the mercy of the wind, your launch angle, and your own tired muscles.
The reality of this existence is pretty much a nonstop survival nightmare. Think about it. You are a snake. You're an animal, fundamentally designed for slithering on solid surfaces, yet you are trying to conquer the open air. This means your daily routine is this exhausting curse of dodging hungry eagles from above, frantically clinging to bark, and constantly fighting to not become someone else's mid-air lunch. Every single movement you make requires a massive, calculated risk. There are zero casual strolls in the canopy for you. There are literally only leaps of faith.
To really put this in perspective, just look at a normal snake's life. A normal snake slithers, it stays mostly grounded, and it hides away safely under rocks or in the brush. It's a quiet, low-profile, pretty chill existence. But you are perpetually exhausted. You are forced to act as a living pancake, 90 feet in the air just to get from point A to point B. Your body isn't meant for true flight, so you have to force it into these totally unnatural shapes just to survive your morning commute. And this incredibly stressful life, it begins immediately. Just imagine hatching into the world, and your very first experience is looking down a terrifying 90-foot drop. 90 feet? You are born high up in the canopy, completely alone, right as you watch another adult snake take a one-way flight out of the tree. As a newborn, you get absolutely no instruction. No coddling, no practice runs. You just have to figure out how to survive that massive vertical drop with zero experience whatsoever. So your very first unguided flying lesson requires just an immense amount of mechanical effort. First, you have to instinctively tense your entire body into a tight J shape to launch. Then, and this is wild, mid-air, you must violently spread your ribs outward to literally double your body size, flattening yourself out. Finally, you have to execute this intense S shape, side-to-side swim through the air just to maintain stability and steer. It's a literal race between your instincts and gravity, and coming in second place means instant death. Picture this. You're just a tiny, 10-inch long, incredibly weak baby snake, and your first jump is fueled by nothing but pure panic. You're doing this complex S-shaped dance through the air, and your only safety net is, well, there isn't one. Nothing. And to make matters worse, as you're desperately trying to calculate your landing on a branch, you realize you have an audience. Those little dots circling in the sky above you? Yeah, those are eagles, and they are fully prepared to catch you mid-flight. The sky is absolutely full of threats, and you are just a very slow-moving snack. Now, obviously, you didn't just wake up one day with this bizarre ability. If we go back 20 million years ago, your ancestors' idea of flying was literally just falling out of trees and getting eaten. That was it. But somewhere between 5 and 10 million years ago, a few evolutionary happy accidents occurred. The snakes, who figured out how to spread their ribs and wiggle just right, they had a slightly better chance of not becoming lunch. So today, you are the final product of millions of years of brutal trial and error, all compressed into this sleek, aerodynamic package. So the absolutely crucial point here is why. Why do you risk this terrifying aerial chaos at all? Well, it all comes down to one simple, unwritten rule of the jungle. The ground is lava. Waiting down below are monitor lizards, civets, and larger terrestrial snakes who have been running the same all-you-can-eat buffet for millions of years. They're essentially down there playing a game of catch the falling snake. Landing on the ground is your absolute worst-case scenario. You fly simply because the alternative is being eaten the very second you touch the dirt.
Because the ground is a literal death trap, surviving into adulthood means treating the forest canopy like a deadly, high-speed highway system. Every single branch you even consider landing on or launching from requires you to evaluate this complex aerial real estate checklist. You need a high elevation spawn point, you have to calculate optimal wind exposure, ensure a clear angle of attack for hunting, and guarantee zero hungry birds are watching. It is constant, exhausting mental arithmetic just to move from one spot to another. But hey, let's say you manage to survive this chaos. By age 2, you grow into a 40-inch long adult. You've officially upgraded your diet from whatever crawls the slowest to premium aerial delicacies, like tree-dwelling lizards and frogs. But here's the catch. Being bigger definitely doesn't mean life gets easier. The competition up in the premium canopy is incredibly fierce. Everyone wants the best branches, and absolutely everyone is trying to hunt without becoming a bird's breakfast in the process. But at this age, your skills have peaked. In optimal conditions, you can now glide up to 330 feet. Your glide efficiency is actually incredible. You're honestly outperforming a lot of actual winged flyers up there. Check this out. For every one story you drop downward, you are covering 3 stories of forward progress. It's a spectacular feat of physics. But of course, it requires peak physical condition and absolute pinpoint precision every single time you launch. Because those premium branches with the best launch angles are so highly valued, you are constantly running into rivals. But flying snakes don't engage in brutal physical fights. There's no biting, no slapping. Instead, they engage in this completely bizarre aerial talent contest. It's basically a passive-aggressive battle where rivals try to out-intimidate each other, eventually leaping off the branch in a reckless display of skill. It's a dangerous game of chicken, and the one who hesitates or miscalculates loses the branch and often falls straight down to the dangerous ground below. So, with all this immense energy spent just surviving the day and fighting for branches, you might be wondering, how on earth do these aerial acrobats handle parenting? Well, when mating season arrives, you have to use those exact same stressful, high-energy gliding skills just to impress a female. You literally have to spread your ribs and look like a really ambitious flying carpet. But once the courtship is finally over, their parenting style is, to put it mildly, brutally hands-off. Both parents utilize a brilliant, if slightly cold, strategy for their extremely vulnerable offspring: complete and total abandonment. The male does his little 15-minute aerial display and leaves immediately. The female carries the eggs for 3 months, maintaining her dangerous, near-death flight routine the entire time. She finally deposits about 12 eggs in a tree hollow, and then she's gone. Remember that touching idea of a mother snake watching you hatch? Yeah, total myth. She abandoned those eggs 80 days before they even hatch. Like I said earlier, you truly are born alone. Time flies when you aren't becoming bird food, right? But the clock is definitely ticking. Fast forward a bit, and you are now an 8-year-old snake. This chaotic lifestyle takes a massive, undeniable toll on a body that was never originally designed for it. Those spectacular 330-foot glides you used to pull off so effortlessly, yeah, they've deteriorated into cautious, painful hops. Your aging muscles simply don't snap into that perfect J shape anymore. And spreading those ribs, it just becomes an exhausting daily chore. And because you can't make those massive, precise jumps anymore, you lose your premium real estate. Younger, much stronger snakes claim the penthouse branches, and they forcefully evict you down to the cheaper middle canopy. Now, you find yourself sharing space with retired woodpeckers and other aging snakes. You can no longer chase down those premium meals, so your life is essentially reduced to waiting in permanent ambush, just hoping a slow tree frog wanders by because you simply don't have the energy to pursue it anymore. And then the inevitable happens. One day, you spot a plump tree frog on a nearby branch. You line up for a jump you've done literally thousands of times. You launch, but your tired body doesn't flatten quite right. The midair S-shaped correction comes just a fraction of a second too late. You miss the branch. Suddenly, physics, the exact force you spent your entire life manipulating, is now your absolute worst enemy, and there is absolutely nothing you can do to stop the descent. As you plummet past the branches, hurtling toward those monitor lizards and predators waiting so eagerly below, the ultimate truth of your existence finally sets in. Life as a flying snake wasn't some cool superpower. It was a lifelong, totally exhausting battle against gravity, and gravity always eventually wins. So the next time you marvel at the idea of a flying snake, ask yourself, would you really want a superpower if it meant you had to spend every single day of your life just fighting not to fall?